Welcome back.
Okay, I think we are going to be waiting just a couple of minutes. I don't want to waste anyone's time, so we'll wait a couple of minutes for a few more people to join us. We have about 30%. We have two Emilys in here. Which Emily are you? In the chat. Feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat. Tell us where you're coming from. And I am curious too where you guys are at in your journey.
I know a few of you ladies are coming close to having your psych screening, and I know you were excited about being part of this. So let us know where you're at in the process.
Yeah, I know some of you are joining us even though you've already had your psych screening, just because you are awesome and you want to hang out with us. We appreciate it. All right, so I am Sunshine. I know I'm familiar with some of you and you've seen me on here before. I'm super excited to have our special guest Ellen today, who's going to tell you all of her wisdom about what to expect in understanding that what goes into the psychological screening, what's the purpose of the psychological screening, and really who it's for is for you as a surrogate. Oh, hi, Joe, we have a husband in here. That's awesome. Husbands and partners are definitely part of the psych screening most of the time. I would say some agencies don't require a spouse or partner to be there, but I think it's hugely beneficial to have a partner in the psych screening just so they can understand what's going into this whole process. So again, I'm Sunshine. I'm a 3-time surrogate. I'm very, very pregnant with my 3rd surrogate baby right now. Super excited to meet her in April and send her home to Michigan with her parents. And then we have Casey. I think most of our attendees are familiar with our beautiful Casey. So Casey, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us more about Ellen. And then we'll let her
guys. So excited for today. This one's probably going to be my favorite one so far that we're doing. So you guys are in for a treat. As some of you know, I've done 2 journeys and have been in this industry a long time. But both of my journeys were done, and I had both psych screenings with Miss Ellen here. She's a family therapist, and she honestly is amazing, and you are in the best hands possible. So she's going to explain everything and tell you a little bit about what you're going to expect and good things to think about prior to your psych screening.
Okay, thank you, Casey. I hope you can hear me okay. Just a little bit of, my thought was we would talk about what is a psych screening, why we do it, and when we do it, just so that you are aware going into it, the whole purpose behind it, and then some of the points that we all try to make when we do it, and then the timing for it, because that can vary from agency to agency as well. And I think it's just important too that you be aware that there are differences. This isn't all just a recipe, that there are very nuances and differences that different agencies use. And many of us who do these screenings are sort of affiliated with specific agencies. So it really does matter what you're going to go through depending on what agency you're affiliated with. The other thing to be aware of when you're just kind of, well, what is it? Different disciplines are doing these screenings. So I'm a licensed marriage, family, child therapist. My background is in family therapy. I require a husband to be a part of, or a partner, if you're a significant other. If you're in a relationship where you're living with somebody, I require them to be part of this. I feel very strongly that it's a couple's decision to move forward. It's, even though obviously the woman is the one pregnant, but it's still both of you making a commitment to basically be involved with another family. And if you're with an agency, another whole group of kind of case managers and people involved in your lives in a very intimate way. And so it's really, really important to me that the spouse or partner be involved in any dialogue I have when we're just starting out and exploring expectations for moving forward. So I think Sunshine said it, and my approach is completely what she said. It's a screening and assessment, yes. And I'm going to talk about the topics we have to hit. But for me, again, it's about what are your expectations and how can I advocate for you? Because you are putting yourself out up there on the line. You are giving so much to another family or couple. And I want to make sure that everything you want to get out of this experience is definitely delineated, definitely outlined, and that everybody's aware of that. So my intention when I do these screenings is really, really, really focused on that. So we are all following, anyone that's doing this is following the guidelines that have been established by the American Society for Reproductive Medicine. And that's kind of the organization that oversees our whole industry for those professionals. So there are doctors' professional groups, there's a mental health professional group, there's a lawyer professional group, and we all are under the auspices of the American Society for Reproductive Medicine. And it's really important that you are, if you're talking to somebody about these personal, intimate details of your life, I think it's really important that you are doing that with the person who is trained in reproduction and third-party assisted reproduction, which is basically what you're under the umbrella of. You're doing third-party assisted reproduction. So I hope I'm not being too elemental here. Am I like
Not at all.
Anyway, okay, good. Okay, so we usually get your name from the agency saying, you know, here's a potential surrogate candidate. And some of the agencies do that with us before you're matched. Some of the agencies do that with us after you're matched. So if it's after you're matched, I always like to also see the profile and information on the family you're matched with so that I can make sure even before I talk to you that everybody's in alignment for just certain fundamental things. But that isn't always the case. So what are we looking for? We do a family history, mostly focusing on your current situation in terms of your relationship, your children, your work, your jobs. We ask about substance abuse. We ask about any kind of incarceration anyone's had. We ask if you're legal, if you're a legal resident. If you're not a legal resident, if you have DACA status, we ask when, you know, the expiration date for that. For me, if you are involved with somebody who is not legal, you know, your husband or boyfriend or partner is not legal, that isn't going in my report, but I still need to know. So because if you are not legal or have DACA status, it would be horrible if you got pregnant for someone else and then were deported. I mean, there's just a reality to this. It would be absolutely horrible. So these are and we were really focused on that with our last presidency. I think this time it's going to be a little more, we're not maybe going to have to be as nervous about that, but I don't know. So, I'm running. So anyway, we ask about that. We ask about stability in terms of your life, your work. Have you been moving around a lot? Are you pretty settled in your home? What kind of support do you have in terms of your family? Do you have parents around? Have you shared with them that you're planning on doing this? What are you going to do about childcare? We also now have to talk about COVID. And if you work, what are you doing with work? What are you doing with precautions? What's your attitude about vaccines? There's a whole section now that we go over with COVID. Are you prepared to go to all the doctor's appointments by yourself? Because a lot of these doctors are not letting anybody in with you, not the intended mom, not the agency people, not your spouse or husband. Are you prepared to give birth with only one person? And that's a huge one to think about. Because if there's only one person, is that going to be your partner that you want to support for you? Or is that going to be one? And I think it's really important you think all this through, because ultimately when it comes to who's there with you for delivery, you are the one that decides, not the parents. So I really, really encourage people to, again, just kind of get a sense of playing this all out. And the most important thing I could say to you as a surrogate when you're undergoing this is for you to really step back and assess what you need for your family, because this is really a two-way street. So that's something I think it's important you think about. I think you need to think about how do I want my children to experience this? Do you want your children to meet the parents? I totally encourage people with children whose kids are 8 and under, say, I think you should ask to please, you want to meet the intended parents. If you can't do it in person because of COVID or because of location, you want to do it via video, because developmentally, they need to associate, these are the human beings that this baby's going to go to. And it will allow them to get closure on the experience. Otherwise, it's kind of like, here today, gone tomorrow, what happened to the baby? Oh, the baby's, with the mommy and daddy. Well, like, who are these people? So I think that's, so I really, really hammer home to people, well, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? It's not just about feeling like you're in the hot seat with a microscope in an interrogation room. But it might feel that way sometimes because we do ask personal questions. If you have a history of any kind of abuse, assault, being victimized in that way at all, you please be honest and share with this mental health person about it. And let me tell you why. Again, it's to advocate for you. There are going to be a lot of ultrasounds, a lot of probes going in your vagina. You're going to have to spread your legs when people tell you to do it. And we do not want to have you have any kind of recurrence or trauma if you've had that kind of experience. And so somebody will ask you, if you share with them that occurred, what kind of treatment did you receive? Have you really addressed it? Have you moved on? Is there a frame around that? Because we don't want this to trigger anything in you that could cause you any kind of trauma. That's why I would ask you about that. It's not to dig into your personal life and not to be intrusive and not to be rude or not to cause a, oh my God, kind of situation. If I read that in your paperwork that you terminated a pregnancy, that there was any kind of assault, I will meet with you independently without your husband or spouse there. And I will say, well, we need a session, just to talk a few minutes between us, or we'll do that right after the test, which I'll talk about in a minute. But because I want you to also to feel that this is a safe place. If you have kept it very personal and private, I want to be respectful of that. Okay. So why do we ask you to do a psychological test, which also can feel very kind of intimidating? So we have to have some kind of an objective tool to use so that we can say clearly there is no indication of any kind of clinical mental health psychology. I can love you. I can think you're great. I can think you're fabulous. And I'm not God. I'm not perfect. I might not pick up on the fact that you have obsessive compulsive disorder and are busy picking at yourself or doing stuff, or I don't know. But we have to be able to say, this is objective. This is not my just personal opinion. Yes, the person is stable, fine. There's no indication of any kind of clinical psychopathology. So honestly, that's why you have to do the test. And very, very, very rarely does somebody test not in the normal range. And even if there is kind of a shady gray area about it, we have the test in front of us. And I always talk with anyone I've run a test on. I go over the results with them. I feel like if I'm going to ask you to kind of do one of these tests, the least I can do is let you know what it says about you or what your responses have indicated are your strengths and your weaknesses. And I would say 99% of the time, people do test being a little bit defensive, reluctant to share personal problems. And I expect that in this kind of a scenario because you're being evaluated. So human nature, of course, I'd want to look good and I'd want to try to work the test to look good, even though trust me, I tell you for 5 minutes, don't worry about looking good. Just be honest, go with your first impression, your first instinct. Because basically what it is, it's a list of statements, some of which are really bizarre, and you just respond. Mostly true, sometimes true, maybe true, a lot true, that kind of a thing. And I can't say it enough, just go with your first instinct, be honest. If there's anything that's weird about it, your therapist should tell you and talk to you about it. And if they don't, and if the agency gets back to you for whatever reason and says, well, you I hate the word fail because it isn't really a pass fail, but you weren't appropriate based on your psych screening, ask them why. You know, what was the red flag that you felt I wouldn't make a good candidate about this? Because you're pursuing it, I would assume, because you're very passionate about helping others. And it's well within your rights to say why. You know, why don't you think I'm appropriate? What you know, what do you see that just, again, even for personal growth, I think that could be valuable information. Just to be, you know, be a better mom, be a better person, to get that kind of feedback. And I think it's important to get that kind of feedback when you're spending 2 to 3 hours with someone like me, basically opening up and peeling back the layers and letting us into some pretty deeply personal things. I think I want to talk a little bit about, we ask about your birth experience, and we ask about, you know, to make sure that you didn't have any trauma or postpartum depression and things like that. And I think if you did, I don't think that should stop you either from pursuing this, if this is something you want to do. All of us have hormonal adjustments to having babies. This time you will not be sleep deprived, you know? And if you did experience postpartum depression and got treatment for it, it's really a good thing, because then you know what to look for. And if you feel it bubbling up again, you can say to someone like me, I know what it felt like. I took immediate intervention. You know, this time I know it's situational. I know it will be time limited. It won't scare me as much. And I'll be able to seek the treatment I need to get through it faster, because I want to be present for my kids, you know, that I have at home once I deliver your baby. So I think you can, that should not deter you if this is something you want to do, if you did have those kind of experiences. Because I think you can present it the way I just suggested. And I don't want to cross as I'm trying to give you little tips to make it through, but I really believe what I just said, you know, that I think that will, you can turn that into being an asset for you, which it can be, I think. Trying to think of what else. Talked about why it's important your spouse be there. Oh, I know what else I think. I think you also could ask, when you're talking to agencies, ask them what kind of support they have for you during this. Different agencies have offer different types of support. And I know that the 𝗬𝗁 and Sunshine are really good about flushing out the nuances for each agency and try to match you with the agency they think will work well for you. But you know, some have, well, we used to do support groups where you meet other gals and you kind of chit chat. Some people still, some of the agencies still do that with Zoom, where you have a monthly Zoom meeting and you know, talk. Some of them are led by professionals like me. Some are not. They're led by case managers. Some agencies offer, you know, required mandated monthly support where you have to talk with someone like me. Some offer nothing. So, I mean, it's kind of like also what you want. And I, you know, speaking for myself, when I am contracted to do the monthly check-ins, it's not just about the pregnancy, because there's more to you than being a pregnant woman for another family. You know, you've got your own kids, you've got relationships you care about, you've got your life, and we check, and I always ask about everything, because I see you as more than just this pregnant woman. And if you're feeling stressed, if your mom is sick, or your husband's drinking, or your kids are getting in trouble in school, that's impacting you and your stress level and your feelings about life in general. And so I want to be there as a place for you to land, to be able to talk about anything. One of the things to ask about, if you have that kind of thing going, well, how much are you sharing with the parents, and how much are you sharing with the agency people? Because if you feel this is, you know, this, I want this to be my safe haven to talk to somebody in confidence, I think that should be respected. But I think that should be respected. And what I do is, if I think it's everybody should know. I will say to you why I think they should know and how I would present it to them and get your permission to do so. And honestly, I've never had anybody say to me, Ellen, don't. Because it's all about making this a good experience for you. I want to say I get very emotional about this because a lot of us who work in this field in the position I do, we were struggling with infertility and we needed people to help us to have children. And so I have such gratitude for those who are your side of the coin in this, that you are there and help others and give of yourself in this way. And I take such a special person and such a special spouse or partner to do this, that I think it's, you always need to feel that gratitude, in my opinion. And if anyone says to you, oh, you're doing it for the money or you're getting that kind of feedback, you make, when you separate, divide it all out, you're making maybe 50 cents an hour. I swear to God, because years ago I sat down and did it, and so maybe it's up to 75 cents an hour now. But with the cost of inflation, it's probably worth about 20. I don't know, but I think don't let anyone ever ask you that money question, and if they do, you tell them that, because that's the truth. I mean, no one is doing this for the money. Think of what else. I think I'm kind of going off topic, but I want in terms of the psych screening, but I also think there's people, what I hear too is the feedback that you anticipate getting from others, and maybe not quite sure how to handle that. And I know when we did a little pre-session over what maybe we would talk about today. One of the things Sunshine said was talking, about the communication and those kinds of things. And I think it is important for you to set limits and talk about how you feel this will be incorporated into your lifestyle. Many of us are busy and we have other responsibilities. And if you are matched with someone, you can say, gee, why don't we touch base 2 times a week? Or let's, if I don't get back to your text right away, please understand it's not that I don't care about you. I'm just feeding my own kids dinner. I mean, I think it's okay. Again, it's okay to do that and to set those kinds of limits. Many people doing this actually test as people pleasers, and you want to please everybody and you want to be kind, and you're a do-gooder and that's why you're doing it. But it's okay. It's okay to be assertive sometimes, and it's okay to set limits. And if you have trouble doing that, hopefully there's someone at the agency you can talk to about having them be your mouthpiece or being a bridge or normalizing it, that it's okay and you might need help. So don't be afraid also to turn to the people at your agency for assistance if you need it. I think that that's also really, really important. So what else have I not talked about? I don't know. Does anyone have any questions? Or I'm trying to think if any, pretty much covered a lot of this stuff.
If any of you ladies have any questions, feel free to chat it in here and we can go over some of those questions that maybe come up as Ellen was talking.
And I want to just look at I want to pull up a sample report too, just to see if I missed any of my topics that I go over, but which I can actually do an outline of that. Just
that test, Ellen, that you're talking about, that everyone takes it. What is it called? The one that most.
The personality assessment inventory is the one a lot of us use. There's also the MMPI, which is longer.
I think that's the one.
The PAI is
PI.
300 questions. The MMPI is like 500. Yeah, one is 500, one's 350. Most of us now use the one that's 350. We do.
I know I had a lot of,
And you're supposed to be
from my
monitored while
site
you take
screening,
it.
there were queens that came up and they were like, tell me more about this. And I had to tell some embarrassing stories about, they're like, have you ever damaged someone's property or something? And I ended up having to tell this story. I was like, well, I have to be honest, right? So, there was an incident where I had a friend in high school and we had a big fight and I like burned all her stuff, which is really ridiculous. I shouldn't have done that. I was a wild teenager. I'm like, why am I telling this story? I just want to be a story. But yeah, I was fine. So embarrassing.
So, good. We do the testing. We ask about a history of any kind of medical surgery, plastic surgery if you've had done. If you've had boob jobs, we want to know and confirm that you understand that, your breast perkiness might be impacted. How you feel about that going into this? That's something I always end up asking about. Tattoos and piercings. If you've had tattoos or piercings within the last 6 months to a year from when you want to do this, you will often be requested to get a note from the tattoo parlor that they use sterile needles. So just be ready for that. We ask about alcoholism, substance abuse. Obviously, pot's legal now, and that isn't we used to say, okay, pot, no way. Now it's legal. But the tests, some of these tests that they use on you are really, really sensitive. Some of these blood tests, and even exposure to secondhand marijuana smoke, you can test dirty as using pot. So I would just say, I say to everyone, stay away from, marijuana when if you want to do this. And if your spouse or husband is doing it, if he smokes regularly, medicinally or recreationally, he will probably get questioned about that in terms of frequency and how exposed you are. Obviously, it's a lifestyle choice now and it's legal. So
yeah, I was going to just add to that. If your husband or spouse does smoke marijuana, it's okay. What we're really wanting to make sure that we have an understanding is sharing that with the agency so that that's part of your profile, so that the intended parents that choose to work with you, they understand the circumstances. Maybe your husband has back problems and this helps with his back problems, or has sleep problems and that's helping with it. The biggest thing that, like Ellen just shared, I can't stress enough, is the transparency in sharing these details so that you don't go to medical screening. Your spouse or partner is going to have that blood work done there. They're going to drug test both of you guys, but they're also going to do sexual transmitted diseases. So that's another hot topic. We would just really want to understand the circumstances so that when you go, it's not a surprise to anybody. And parents, we find, I'm sure Ellen can attest to this, it's not a deal breaker. It really isn't. It's really about transparency and making sure that everybody is on the same page and then they move forward. So I've seen it happen more times than not anymore. So
yeah, being honest is really, really important.
Surprises
nobody likes.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right. That's right. I think the other thing that is you might question about too, that you might go, why are you asking me about this, has to do with your children also. If they have any special needs or challenges, if they require tutoring, if you have to run around to different specialists with them, we're just asking about that just in terms of time management, because time management is a really important quality to have when you do this. You have to be able to manage time and do a lot of juggling, which many people do, but you have to be able to do that. If you're a single mom, I always talk about the fact that you're not functioning now totally independently, making kind of decisions. I think single moms can be used to not collaborating as much because they're kind of the head of household and there's no other adult that they have to kind of compromise with. You're definitely the boss versus those in relationships. And so it can be challenging then to have a case manager asking you to give them a log of the food you've been eating if you're if you have gestational diabetes, or, you know, do things that you're used to just kind of leading your life and not having to check in with anybody. And that can be challenging for some single parents, actually, the fact that you have to check in.
Yeah, the timing with surrogacy too, with so much of the IVF, the medications are so, can you hear me?
I can, yeah.
Oh, I know there's so many things that are time sensitive. And so we wanted, I know as a surrogate, and especially when I was a surrogate for the first time I was teaching, and I wanted things to work around my schedule. It's like summers are really good for me. Fridays are great. I have no kids in the classroom on Fridays. Can I make everything happen on Friday? And you know, with IVF, timing is so important. So no, you can't make everything happen on Fridays. And that was really frustrating for me. So I wished that I had been better prepared, and understanding that all these ultrasounds and tests and things that you have to do are very time sensitive, because they're going to determine when your embryo transfer is going to have the best chance of success. So you kind of have to have a schedule or lifestyle that's flexible enough so that you can meet those time sensitive things. And so that they should go over that with you a lot in the psych screening, just prepping you for that, and making sure that you have the support to do that. So is your job, is your employer understanding? Are they going to be flexible if you need to take, you know, if you only have 1 day's notice and you're going to be having your embryo transfer on Wednesday, and originally it was planned for Friday, but the doctor says Wednesday's better, then you have to take 2 days off work suddenly. This is medical, so you can get a doctor's note for it, but making sure that you feel comfortable telling your employer you need to take that time off, and that if you know, you can't bring your children with you to the IVF clinic, so you need to have child care. And so that's why Ellen really digs into that, or whoever your psych person is going to dig into who your support system is.
What was that, Ellen?
Did you say something, Ellen?
I think the bottom line is you're being like an infertility patient.
No.
You're being treated like an infertility patient, even though you're not. And so it can feel very intrusive and very odd. Like, can you hear me? Yeah, can you hear me or no? Can you hear me? We're having sound.
Oh, did we lose Ellen?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but we can't see you.
Can you guys hear me?
Are you still here?
Yes, if you can.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear her?
I think you're losing me. I think you're losing me.
So I guess while we're waiting for Ellen, I wanted to share with you ladies, although we are trying to be as transparent as possible with you, understanding that there are going to be appointments that you're required to do. In most instances, if the IVF doctor is in a different state, or if you're traveling for this appointment further than a couple hours, a lot of the time the IVF doctor will require you to be there for the medical screening and the embryo transfer. And in most instances, you can do outside monitoring, so closer to homes, finding a location. The agency will help you in all of that, but finding a location closer to home so that you have the availability to take off of work and go and do that. The other thing that I think really is important is this is a commitment, right? You're taking that time off of work, but we do not expect you guys to be taking that time off and losing those wages. The agency and part of your contract will state that you are compensated for lost wages during the times that you are out work. So at no point do we expect you to take that day off, even if it is taking a personal day or you have it as a PTO. You will be reimbursed, and the agency will help you through that, explaining how you submit that document to request that reimbursement. So those are things to take into consideration when we're going through all of this.
And that's true for childcare as well. So if you have to pay someone to watch your kids, that's going to be reimbursed for you.
Exactly.
So, but it's just making sure that you have someone that you trust, especially for that overnight for embryo transfer. If you have little kids and they've never been without you overnight. You want to make sure that, you know, if it's your spouse or your partner that's going to come with you as your companion for the embryo transfer, who's going to be with your little ones? That's important stuff to think about.
Am I back? I don't know.
You are back.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened. That's so weird.
That's okay.
Okay.
Does no one have any questions? No specific questions for Ellen or anything related to the support or the psych screening or, whoa, what have I gotten myself into, or anything at all?
I just want to say another thing too, that where I feel that you have power, and that's obviously who you're matched with. And I think it's very important if you're presented profiles and you don't feel it, like, oh my gosh, this would be a good fit for me, you do not have to jump at the first profile you're given. That it's really important that you, again, think to yourself, what am I trying to get out of this experience? If you want someone who speaks English, you don't want to be matched with a couple that lives in China and doesn't speak English. You know, if you have concerns about COVID and you are like, well, will the people be able to get here and be there when the baby's born? Then you want to be matched with someone in the same state or maybe even in the same county where you live. I mean, it's really important that you think of, what am I trying to get out of this? And if you're okay with a more business-like arrangement, then that's fine. There is no right or wrong way to do this. No right or wrong way to do this. Yeah. And it's important that you think of all the criteria that are important to you, be them religious, you know, gender, whatever, single or married or speak English, or even the ages of the parents, if they have children or not. All of that are things that you can decide of who do you want to help with this amazing gift.
Sadly, there are so many people struggling that it's not going to be hard for you to find the profile for the family that matches what you're looking for. It's going to be a lot harder for them probably to find the right surrogate than it is going to be for you to find the right family to help. Oh.
Well, Emily says she's nervous she won't be matched. You will be matched. I think you just, but you know what? It's kind of like when it's meant to happen, it will happen, I think. And you'll just feel it. Trust your instincts on this. The best advice I could give you, really.
Patience is a virtue with surrogacy, for sure. There's a lot of waiting, and you don't want to rush things, and there is going to be a family you're going to be the hugest blessing to them. That they're going to be so excited when they see your profile, when they meet you. I know I've already spent time talking with you, and you're wonderful. You're going to get matched faster than you think. Hopefully not too fast for your comfort.
I think that's more the shock when the women go in and don't realize how fast it can go. If everything is smooth and they collect medical records, it can go fast. And if, you know, the sad thing is there are more parents, I mean, they wait anywhere from 6 months to a year, sometimes longer, to be matched with a lovely surrogate who's willing to help them grow their family. So in most instances, the surrogate is not waiting very long at all. And that's exciting. And in that, kind of like Sunshine and Ellen shared, you want to make sure that you're not saying yes to the first one. You want to make sure it's a good one. I did both times, but I knew reading their letter and you know, hearing their story, what brought them to surrogacy, why they needed help, it was really kind of a no-brainer. I was ready to help them. So you'll know, and you have us here to help you through that as well. If you have questions that you want to go through things, those are things that we are here to help and happy to talk with you guys about. So.
And nervous about giving yourself shots. I don't know if you guys have any advice for that. I was so nervous. I ended up not being able to do it myself. My husband did it for me, and he was great. He could be a nurse now. He's so good at it. I had a nurse help me with it when he was out of town once, and she hurt me. He never did.
Yeah. Well, because probably he didn't want to sleep on the couch after he did it. He wanted to make sure he wasn't in trouble.
Yeah, he was great. And I think it's easy. It's easy for it was hard for him to get over initially. The first time he had to do it, he was really scared, but then he got used to it and he was like, oh, all right, it's no big deal. He's just ready to go.
All of the IVF nurses have really good tips and tricks. So lean on your IVF when you're going through that process. You're going to have a nurse coordinator that will help and have you understand the cycle calendar and everything with it. So lean on them, and they can give you some really good advice, and they have tools and resources available even before you ask. So you will have many people in your court to make sure that you have everything you need to be successful with those shots, I promise.
So Blanca just asked about herpes. No, it doesn't. Or someone asked about herpes. You can all see this, right? It does not, no such, being diagnosed with a sexually transmitted disease does not disqualify you from being a surrogate as long as you've been treated. And with the herpes, you would probably get Valtrex or something before the birth, and everything would be fine. They might want to take some extra precautions with you and put you on medication. But again, that's something you need to be honest about it. One thing I want to say that someone in the chat room, you also refer to yourselves as surrogate mother. And I just want to talk about the language for a few minutes, because I talk about this extensively with intended parents. I am not crazy about the term surrogate mother. I'm going to be totally transparent. You are having a baby for someone else. They are the only mother of this child. You are basically the caregiver, the caretaker. You're the gestational carrier. You're carrying a baby while it's in gestation. You're babysitting the baby. You are never, ever, ever identified as the mother. These children are going to have one mother or maybe two dads or one dad, but you are not the role of mother to this child. That doesn't mean you're not going to love it and take care of it just as you did your own when they were inside of you. But it's really, really important, I think, to have that clear boundary. And I think language makes a huge difference. And it's just a gentleness too for your approach towards the mom, to always refer to her as the mom and you as the gestational carrier. I just think it's and I think it speaks the truth. That's why most doctors talk about you as GCs or gestational carriers, not surrogate mothers. Doctors say GCs now. That's kind of the intentional identity that you are given in the medical part of this.
Or even GS, a gestational surrogate is surrogate, good, yes. or just plain surrogate. Sure. I think that sensitivity is something that's come up. People have been more vocal about, and I can totally understand why intended mothers would feel like they don't want to share that title. They're already giving up a lot of control and giving up so much of being part of the pregnancy and being thoughtful and mindful of their feelings and referring. And also just, it's just accurate. Accuracy is important. You're not the mother, not biologically, you're not going to raise the child either. So there's no harm in being accurate with your words. My intended fathers for my first surrogacy, there's two dads, and they asked me, they're so cute, they're so sweet. They asked me, do you want them to call you mom? And I was like, no, please, absolutely not. Do not. So they call me Auntie Sunshine. But yeah, no, I don't want that kind of pressure. Don't tell those children I'm their mother, please.
But it also sets like a boundary for your kids, Yeah. Your kids. Again, if we fold it over into what's best for my children and my family, having that boundary there is best for them. It really is. And I always encourage people to get audio tapes, buy those baby buds you can get at Target or Walmart, and for the parents to make an audio of their talking or music in their house or just dinner conversations. It doesn't even matter what. And when you're reading to your child, you stick these headphones on your belly and you say to your child, oh, look, the baby's listening to their mommy and daddy while I'm reading to you. I mean, and the parents love it when they're asked to do this because it brings them into the process. And I do believe there is a difference in verbal recognition. When the infant's born, there is some familiarity then with their voices, and not just your voice and your family and your kids, because babies do hear at 14 weeks in utero. So the more you can get the familiarity with their parents' voices, I think it's an easier transition on the baby too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have those belly buds.
Yeah. Love it. I did it with both of my journeys and they loved it. They read some books, recorded it, and I put the little buds on my belly and it was great all the time.
It's great. It's great. And it sets a great boundary for your kids too.
Mhm.
Oh, look, the baby's listening to their mommy and daddy.
Mhm. Yeah,
Great.
exactly. Great.
So I think so somebody's mentioning kids, buns, cooking in the oven. I think that's fabulous, 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 because I also think it's really important to be able to explain this to your kids using examples of things they can understand. And you're not necessarily going to go into in vitro fertilization with a 3-year-old or 4-year-old, but they do understand that there are helpers in life, and mommy's being a special helper now. And just like, if we were baking cookies and our oven was broken, we could bake our cookies in somebody else's oven, but those cookies would still come back to our house. They'd be our cookies. We would be the ones eating them, not where they were cooked. Mommy's the oven here. We order toys online. Well, once we place the order, it's our toy. But we still need a truck to get it to our house. And while it's on the truck, it's going to be packaged really good so it won't fall off the shelf and get broken, so that when we get it, we unwrap it, and there's, the toy we picked out. Well, here, mommy's the delivery truck, So you find things.
Feel like a truck.
You find things, you feel like a beached whale, but you're still being a delivery truck. Okay. So you find things that your kids can relate to and understand. And again, it just makes it then, okay, this is not a big deal. And isn't it wonderful? We help other people out.
Mhm.
It's important you talk to their teachers, parents of their friends. Let everybody know that you are not having a baby for your family, so the kids don't have to explain it. Because probably, in COVID, no one's seeing anybody, but in normal life, the pregnant mommies they see are mommies having more babies for their family, not mommies having babies for another family. So that would be my suggestion on that. Okay.
Christina had asked earlier if she would like therapy sessions throughout the pregnancy process. Would we request that through the IPs or the agency? Definitely through the agency. And we can talk, or you can talk with Casey after. I'm not sure which agency you're with, and we can talk about what kind of resources they have. And if they don't have the resources that you're looking for, we can make sure that they get them too. If you haven't entered in the contract phase, we can put, you can put that into your contract that you would like to have monthly mental health professional in your contracts through the agency.
Great question.
Sorry, I just didn't want to miss that one. That was a while back.
No, it's good. This is a great question.
Brittany's
Brittany had
asking
another
about,
really good question too.
Yeah, timing about talking with parents or grandparents or I really think that's personal choice. I don't, in terms of knowing the personalities involved and the culture in which you live, as to how, when, and where to share. If you were pregnant with your own child, a lot of people don't share till they're way past the first trimester. Make sure the pregnancy sticks. Make sure it's really, happening. I think that could be similarly embraced in this situation. Like, why go there especially if you're not even matched yet, or maybe you might be really excited to share that you're starting this new adventure. So I think that if you come at it, if you have concerns about getting negative feedback maybe from some people, I think if you come at it from a place of, first of all, using the term gestational carrier, not surrogate. So you will have to explain to them, I'm not biologically connected to this child. My genes are not in this child. A lot of people have to go there. So when you use the word surrogate also, we have preconceived notions as to what does that mean. And a lot of us think of that as traditional surrogacy, where you're using your eggs and you are not. So you just start off, I'm a gestational carrier. What is that? And you're explaining it from the very beginning what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you are doing this as a woman who wants to help other people. And I think that's the way it needs to be framed with anyone you talk to. And if they don't understand that, it's their it's unfortunate, but that's really on them, I think. I know women that, you know, they basically were not around some of their family members because they were getting negative feedback and they didn't feel it was a positive experience for them. The pregnancy is time limited. It's not going to be the end of your relationship. You know, you will deliver this baby and you will be back to normal, and, you know, it will fade away in people's minds. So I would try to approach it as this is situational, this is time limited, and not get sucked into the drama or any kind of negativity about it. And just be respectful of them if they aren't supportive to you. You just be respectful and say, you know, well, then maybe we'll just kind of back off for the next few months if being around me is disturbing, and you know, we'll check in via phone versus visuals. I mean, people have done that, I know, and that works.
I had people like that in my life that I had to kind of put on hold and be like, you know, I don't need to be around. I don't need to be around that much negativity. Blanca's question, I don't know if you saw it. She's not sure. I'm not sure she understands the IVF process of needing to get a DNA test to make sure the baby. You should be 100% sure the baby's not yours, because there will be a time period that you'll be abstaining. And at no point are you going to be, and I think this is a misconception a lot of people have, that they think of the conception happens through IUI, which is like intrauterine insemination, where the sperm is put into, and then that's when it would fertilize an egg. You're not going to come in contact with any sperm at any point in the gestational surrogacy process. There's an embryo that's already, it's an egg that's been fertilized with the intended father or donor sperm. So that embryo is already, the little human recipe has already been created, and that little guy is implanted into your uterus. So there's no chance that that baby is going to be yours, especially if you are following the guidelines and you're abstaining. If you were to become pregnant on your own, that would mean you have broken your contract and you were having sexual intercourse on IVF medications when you weren't supposed to. So don't worry about that at all. That's not a concern. I don't know if you have a better way of saying that, Ellen.
No, I think that's true. I mean, that's another reason, frankly, why I want a husband or partner in the meeting also. I always say to them, you know, no sex for part of this. And also the medications might make your wife really kind of emotional and moody and everything else, because they're adding on to the hormones, and that can get, some of us can really, you know, cry at the drop of a head and scream at the drop of a head and everything else. But I always say that in front of the guys, that you cannot have sexual intercourse for part of this. During the, you know, pre-transfer, and then also sometimes after, and then also sometimes as you get towards the pregnancy delivery date. Again, you are being treated like an infertility patient, not like it's just a pregnancy that you happen to conceive on your own.
Mm-hmm. So you don't have to worry about it, I guess, is the point that I would want to make. That's not something that you need to stress or worry about. That's going to be, you won't get a DNA test at the end, and you won't need one.
Yeah. And then the other side of it is the short window that they're asking you to not be intimate is not a long window in most instances, unless you have experience after the embryo transfer, maybe some bleeding, and the doctor might then ask you to abstain. But in most instances, your reason you've been chosen to be a surrogate is you've had these healthy pregnancies. So pregnancy, usually once you're pregnant, does have that ability to be smooth, and unless the doctor tells you otherwise is when you would need to be sustaining. So it's short-lived, I guess, is what I'm getting at. And if we can share that with our spouses and husbands, hopefully they can understand that for a bit.
Yes, but honestly, even if the guys had a vasectomy, they don't want you to be sexually intimate.
Correct. Yeah.
So yeah. I don't know why that is. If that has to do with like blood flow or something, but I don't know. But yeah,
I wasn't sure either, because I have a tubal ligation, and I was like, so do I not have to abstain because I don't have tubes? But no, I still had to abstain. It was a bummer.
Yeah.
Extra bummer, because those hormone medications that they give you make it harder on you even than maybe it normally would be. It makes it a little bit more interesting.
Sorry, guys.
And you're like, shucks, I'm finally in the mood.
Oh, so good. Oh, so
Funny. Maybe do we need to talk about that separately, Sunshine?
No, we're fine. Well, I think that pretty much wraps it up. I don't know if you guys have any. Oh, let's see, Brittany. The uterine contractions. Yeah, I've heard that too. That they want you to have that pelvic rest. Like they don't even want you to have an orgasm. So it's not even.
Right.
You can't.
Right.
Can't have any fun.
Oh.
But
This has been fun, ladies.
yeah, if anyone has any more questions, feel free. You know how to get in touch with Casey and I anytime. We're always available by text or email or phone. And if you want to ask questions about the type of mental health support that is available at the agency that you're connected with, if you're at that point, I know I just wanted to look really quickly and see how many of us are screening with an agency. At least 8 of you are right now, 3 of you still in the research phase. I know one of you's already matched and I know who it is. Is it our Madison, who's already matched and already done the psych screening and everything too.
Yeah.
So super excited for you guys. If you have any questions at all, anytime, we're here for you, and we'll have more webinars coming up in the future. I think our next one's on St. Patrick's Day for the what to expect in the contracts and the legal stage. So if there's anything else you guys want us to cover, let us know too. Tell us. We're here for you.
All right,
Good
guys.
luck, everybody. You're in good hands. You're in good hands. Okay.
Thank you, Ellen, for sharing.
All right.
It was really great.
Thank you
guys.
so much, Ellen.
My pleasure. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.